The year is 1904. Cities are rising fast, but so are the flames. Behind every invention is a fuse, and it's burning. In the east, war brews on the seas. In the west, fire tears through cities. And deep beneath it all, new technology pulses in the dark. Some events made headlines. Others were buried, forgotten, until now. If you missed part 1 of 1903's most shocking events, it's worth the trip back. Just tap the card up here. Today, we uncover 10 moments that shattered calm, shook empires, or slipped under the radar until now. This is 1900 Chronicles History's Time Machine. You're not just watching history, you're traveling through it. It began on a quiet Sunday morning, with one small puff of smoke rising from a downtown building. Within hours, the flames leapt from rooftop to rooftop. The fire department fought back, but their hoses didn't fit. By nightfall, the city was an inferno. More than 30 hours of firestorm tore through 70 city blocks. When the smoke cleared, more than 1,500 buildings were gone. The heart of Baltimore, reduced to brick skeletons. Fire crews rushed in from Philadelphia, Washington, and New York, but nothing could stop the blaze. Different hydrants, different standards. In the ruins, a new idea was born: national standards for firefighting equipment. It took a disaster to unite the country's cities. Today, the Great Baltimore Fire is mostly forgotten. But in 1904, it was a national tragedy, one that rebuilt how cities think about safety. On the night of February 8, 1904, the Russian fleet sat anchored at Port Arthur, calm, still, unsuspecting. Then, explosions shattered the dark. Japanese destroyers launched a surprise torpedo attack without a declaration of war. Russia, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. Its pride, its navy, was wounded before war had even been declared. Tsar Nicholas II was humiliated. The world watched as one of Europe's giants was humbled by an Asian upstart. For Japan, this was the moment it had prepared for, a chance to claim its place among the world's powers. The Russo-Japanese War would last over a year, spanning land, sea, and history itself. It shattered illusions of Western superiority. The world should have paid closer attention. This wasn't just a war, it was a warning. The balance of power was shifting, and the East was rising. For nearly 1,000 years, Britain and France had danced between rivalry and war. But on April 8, 1904, they shocked the world by choosing friendship. The Entente Cordiale wasn't just a piece of paper. It was a gamble, one that would change the course of the 20th century. At the heart of it all was fear of rising German power. France felt threatened. Britain felt surrounded. And both knew time was running out. In London, it was hailed as a diplomatic victory. In Berlin, it was seen as betrayal. The Entente would later pull both nations into 2 world wars. But in 1904, it felt like peace. This wasn't just a pact. It was the beginning of alliances that would shape the deadliest century in history. It began like any other summer morning in St. Petersburg, but by noon, one of the empire's most powerful men would lie dead in the street. Interior Minister Vyacheslav von Plehve, ruthless, feared, and hated, was assassinated by a revolutionary bomb near the Warsaw Station. The street was splattered with glass and blood, and for a moment, Russia stood still. The Socialist Revolutionary Party claimed responsibility. To them, von Plev's death was justice. For the state's brutal repression. Tsar Nicholas II tightened his grip. More surveillance, more prisons, more fear. But the message had been sent. The empire wasn't invincible, and the revolution was already breathing. On June 22, 1904, the SS Norge left Copenhagen, carrying hundreds of hopeful immigrants bound for America. Most would never see land again. 6 days later, off the coast of Rockall, the ship struck an underwater reef, tearing its hull open like paper. Panic spread, lifeboats tangled. Passengers, many of them children, screamed as the cold Atlantic swallowed the ship. Some made it into lifeboats. Most didn't. Over 600 souls were lost, many drowned, others frozen in the waves. Back in Denmark, entire towns waited for names that would never appear. Newspapers called it one of the worst maritime disasters in history. Unlike the Titanic, the SS Norge was buried by time. But its victims were no less human. Their dreams still sleep beneath the sea. Still with us? That means you're as deep into 1904 as we are. We're halfway through, so if you've enjoyed the ride, drop us a like, leave a comment, and let us know your favorite moment so far. We dig deep to find stories you've never heard, and your support means we can keep the reels spinning. And if you're not subscribed yet, we've got decades more to uncover. Now, back to 1904 and the car that broke the limits of speed. July 21st, 1904. On the Belgian coast, the world held its breath. A French daredevil, Henri Fournier, sat behind the wheel of a machine that looked more like a cannonball than a car. Crowds gathered on the beach at Ostend, Belgium, barely able to believe what they were about to witness. With a thunderous roar, the car surged forward, its wheels spinning faster than anything the world had seen. In seconds, the impossible became history. 103 miles per hour. The first man to break the 100 barrier. The age of speed had officially begun, and the world would never slow down again. October 21st, 1904. The Russian Baltic Fleet, on its way to war with Japan, steamed nervously through the North Sea. In the dark, the Russians spotted small fishing boats, mistaking them for Japanese torpedo ships. Without warning, the Russians opened fire. 2 fishermen were killed. Several boats were sunk. Britain was outraged. The British press screamed for war. Russia claimed it was a mistake. War was narrowly avoided. The Russians paid compensation, but the damage to trust lingered. In a quiet London laboratory, an invisible force was about to be caught and tamed. Physicist John Ambrose Fleming had been studying how to control electric current using only a vacuum. The result was the world's first vacuum tube diode, what Fleming called the oscillation valve. It was a tiny device, but it would birth a massive revolution: radio, radar, and eventually computers. Fleming's quiet invention didn't make headlines, but the 20th century would quietly be built on it. He lit the spark for the electronic age without ever seeing how far it would burn. It was a cold December evening in London, and inside the Duke of York's theatre, magic took the stage. J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan, the boy who wouldn't grow up, leapt from the page, and into the hearts of a generation. Audiences gasped as Peter flew, Tinker Bell flickered, and a ticking crocodile crept across the stage. It was more than a play. It was a dream made real, tapping into something timeless. From that first performance, Peter Pan took flight and never really landed. And in the heart of a smoky Edwardian theater, a boy from Neverland gave an entire world permission to believe. On a drizzly December night in Dublin, a modest theater opened its doors. But what stepped onto that stage would shake an empire. The Abbey Theatre wasn't built for profit. It was a revolution in velvet curtains, a national stage for Ireland's voice. Founded by W.B. Yeats and Lady Gregory, the Abbey wasn't just art. It was independence with footlights. On its opening night, the first performance was On Bale's Strand, a Celtic myth told with fire and defiance. The Abbey gave Ireland a mirror and the world a window into its myths, its pain, its pride. And from that stage, under flickering light, a nation spoke before it was even born. History isn't just in books. It's in firelit stages, broken rail tracks, and the whispers of revolution. If you made it this far, thank you. We've only just scratched the surface of 1904. Part 2 arrives next week, with even more events you've likely never heard of. So don't miss it. Subscribe, leave a comment, and like the video to help others discover this journey through time, because your voice helps keep history alive.